Welcome everyone. It's Kemp here from AR.io network for another stream, sort of welcoming builders from the ecosystem and digging into what they're building. And I am delighted to have Felipe from BitPlex here today. How you doing, man?
Let's go. No bad, no bad. Really honored to be here after many weeks working together. Finally reaching the last part of this deployment. I cannot express it in many words, but hype and excited.
Nice. Yes, it's always fun, right? When you go on that journey with people and you hear their problem early on, or you hear the solution that the other people have got, and then you go on that journey together to kind of figure out how to bring the two things together. And from my side, it's been amazingly fun working with you guys. It's the energy's always been good. The solutions seem to match up early, so I'm excited that we've got here and we kind of got it out into the public. So today, what we're going to be going through is a deep dive into BitPlex and the solutions that they've built to bring permanent data to Bitcoin and the Spark ecosystem. We tend to do these live streams kind of like every week or so to give folks in the ecosystem a platform on which to showcase what they're building and a chance to kind of put out there any call to actions or answer any questions for folks that are interested in learning more. So Felipe, why don't we start with a sort of a brief introduction to yourself, and then we can maybe dig into BitPlex after that. Like, how did you get into crypto? How did you find yourself in Bitcoin and Spark? I'm sure the people would love to know.
Yeah, totally. Actually, I'm a typical computer science engineer. I started my career in Silicon Valley. I was doing a master degree in the UK, pretty much focused on e-commerce.
In the
And
UK?
then in the UK, yeah. I was. Why?
No, because I'm from the UK. I wasn't sure you never mentioned it, but sorry, man. I got excited when you said UK.
I don't think so. Yeah, I studied in Warwick, so my master was in Warwick. I spent a couple years Coventry, London. So yeah, I don't miss the weather, by the way. I don't miss it totally. But yeah, I moved to San Francisco. I started building my first company around 2012. That's a long time ago. So this is not my first rodeo, but the first time it was magical, right? This promise of like a Silicon Valley, like connected with everyone. It was the explosion of Web 2. And in the middle, I was in a meetup, the typical ones before it was Canon, pizza, beer, and then someone explaining what was this idea of the future of money called Bitcoin. Long story short, that was my first and biggest regret with Bitcoin. It was a crazy guy with a hoodie. I don't know if he was homeless or a hipster or a founder. It could be the three at the same time. But the guy was explaining this. Everything makes sense until the point he said, in this, I thought it was a USB, right?
Yeah.
It was just cold storage. But in this USB, I have these coins of the future and I'm selling them because you guys should have some just in case, the typical phrase. And then he said, if you buy two, I give you the third one for free.
Amazing.
I'm selling the two of them for $400. So we're talking about like around 130 per coin, $130 per coin. That's 2014. And then I said, this guy is crazy. He's pretty much like offending me, my intellectual stuff. How you want to take my money for a file? So I didn't understand, right? Yeah, everyone deserves Bitcoin at the price.
I can feel the pain thinking back to that moment of like
Totally. Yeah. I mean, imagine, right? Like a couple $100 versus like a couple 100,000 currently, or close to 90. So yeah, that was the first time I remember I met the founder of CryptoKitties back then. We were kind of the same area, and then decentralization was not something that sexy back in the day. So we're talking about more than 10 years ago. And I was not pretty much in. My company grew a lot in these years. We started printing money in the Web2 stuff. We raised our Series A, grew the company to like 100 people,
Oh
raised
wow.
5 million for Series A. It
This
was pretty good.
this was in
That's
Mexico.
that was in San Francisco.
Oh wow,
San
cool.
Francisco, 2014 to 2018. So good that we opened operations in Mexico with enough new funding, and then COVID hit, and we went like decimated.
Yeah.
New offices, like dozens of people hired. Then suddenly everyone was like fired just because our clients were not paying. We ended up doing like algorithms to create organic communities. It's really fancy stuff. Long story short is we found ways to hack organically the growth inside Instagram and Facebook. And we created the largest Spanish speaking community in the world with like a
Yeah.
50 million users. So it was crazy for us, like millions and millions of users every day. So we pretty much learn everything about like reliability, scalability on servers, and engagement pretty much in an organic way. The the whole thing went down because of um, commercial, right? Businesses stopped putting money on media. We started doing media in the middle. That was the best like a business model, and we got destroyed to the point where, as you can imagine, if I studied in the UK, I had my student loan. So I was in debt, and as many people there, I was in debt. For some reason, I didn't pay my loan when I was this successful entrepreneur, right? And then suddenly I'm in COVID, no money, debt growing, and a failed startup or shut down startup. Then Web3 appeared again. I saw something in the Ethereum and Solana ecosystem. And then someone invited me, right, to be part of the trenches in the 2020 and 2021 camp. Then we hit a couple of good ones. Myself, I launched the first, it's called Crypto Lucha collection. They were like a pixelated lucha libre like wrestlers,
Cool.
very nice. Really cultural stuff. I love lucha libre. And then that project actually helped me pay all my loan back.
Oh, wow.
We
Just
grew
one.
just one project, yes, one project. The community was awesome. People around the world actually with the passion of nostalgic pixels like Super Nintendo and just Mexican Wrestler. We released the first staking system in Solana in Latin America.
Mhm.
So the little luchadores were like a stake. We say we send them to train, but every single day, if your luchador is training, is gaining tacos, right? So the
Love it.
tacos were the token of the ecosystem, utility stuff. So you can buy like a new mask. You can also buy tickets to go to Lucha Libre in Mexico City with the token. It was crazy. I mean, we had a lot of fun, and we ended up building a company to do pretty much collections. So we learned a
Mhm.
lot about launching collections. Then we automate everything. That company was called Nifter. So we learned everything in the Solana and Ethereum ecosystem. That's how
Mhm.
actually I discovered Arweave, because there is only two options, right? If you're doing decentralized storage, you either go for IPFS or you go for Arweave. And then
Yep.
Solana was kind of the booming stuff in these years. So Arweave totally control most of the narrative there.
Yeah.
And
Solana NFTs was one of the first like at scale use cases for Arweave, right? Like years ago.
exactly. And I think it works pretty well, right? It never disappointed in the process of like from the enterprise perspective, I think is always reliable. By the way, I'm not getting paid for this comment. So whoever in the audience, I'm not paid actor. This is real stuff. And the idea behind it was how can we scale it and then people can get access to non-fungibles, back in the days, the leader, still the leader is Metaplex. So one of the
Hmm.
big inspiration for us is there. And then we got a lot of experience with the Metaplex ecosystem, with Arweave from the storage perspective. And then we help many different projects, from brands to events. We help some kind of theatrical plays. We create NFT tickets. We did collectibles. We did a lot of stuff. I'm talking about 2022. And then Bitcoin started getting a lot of heat, and we decided to leave that project as a pet project, fully focused on Bitcoin. Long story short, in the last couple years, we were super focused on fast payments and how can
Hmm.
we make Bitcoin faster to be usable every day. And we create one of the most stable and famous wallets in the Bitcoin layer 2 ecosystem called BitBit. So yeah, the whole thing started from I would say fail Web 2 entrepreneur to currently Web 3 Bitcoin developer. In the middle, it was a whole decade full of adventures and a lot of stories. But the whole thing gets into a point where we have a lot of experience on how to deploy non-fungibles. We understand how to bring a community and a company from zero to millions of users. And now we say, well, I think it's time to push the limits of Bitcoin to make it in the same level and take control of this like a first place as a mother chain. And why not bring in non-fungibles to Bitcoin? So yeah, we're really happy to work with ARIO to share pretty much like vision with you guys. Arwe was our first solid supporter after Spark ecosystem, which is this Bitcoin layer 2 that is
Hmm.
helping us. So yeah, we're exactly weeks away from the first releases of collections. Also some corporate objects like memberships and tickets again on Bitcoin. So everything is fast, everything is decentralized. And yeah, I'm totally hyped. I'm hyped about this.
Nice. I can feel the energy in you, man. It's like it's been a journey, right? But you kind of got here. It's really interesting to hear
Totally.
your story of like getting exposed to crypto early on, and then going away and building systems at scale in Web 2, and then kind of bringing all of that knowledge back together, including kind of what you experienced in the Solana ecosystem and working with Arweave, and a lot of the tooling that we've built, and kind of bringing that together for where you're at right now. So what you're working on right now is BitPlex, right? What is BitPlex, and how does it fit into Spark? You mentioned Spark's the L2, and how does it fit into Bitcoin? And then like where do NFTs and where does RAO and Arweave come into this?
Yeah, totally. So the whole thing is pretty much trying to solve. Let me share my screen. So I'm a visual guy.
Yeah, me too.
Hopefully, someone that is like checking this one in their phone or computer can enjoy also part of this. So this is the starting point. So currently, BitPlex is our effort to bring this infrastructure of non-fungibles in a standardized way to Bitcoin. And the whole thing is like what is needed for like developers, communities, or applications to get non-fungibles here. That's kind of the question. A lot of I think a lot of questions in the middle. People think like a lot of we have enough signals that NFTs are not the solution. But we're totally on the other side of the equation. Now that we experience the growth, decline, and evolution of NFTs in ecosystems like Ethereum top two,
Mm-hmm.
we know what is needed in the ecosystem, right? So it's not only about art, it's not only about collectibles or like baseball cards tokenized. It's more about the user case. So that's exactly what we're building. Then I think I have the presentation here. So as you can see, I'm an old school guy with decks and stuff. I think
I love it.
the whole thing is, as we were describing before, the idea is to bring the best of like fast Bitcoin and the best of decentralized storage. And the most like a stable one that we found out there was like Arweave, and this is because it has this like a permanent storage mantra, right? Something that we suffer in the middle with some experiments. Later on, maybe we're gonna find a way to solve it. Is this semi permanence? So
Mhm.
we experienced this with IPFS and other solutions, and we suffer this in like first hand when we were doing the last company. Some of the objects pretty much just disappear, and this
Yeah.
is one of the biggest problems, right? Like something that you think is going to be there all the time and permanent, suddenly is not rendering, and the user is not expecting that, right? We the technical people understand why it's happening, but the end user is like, what the
Yeah,
hell,
I've had
what is my
I've had
asset?
I've had a lot of conversations recently with folks in the NFT ecosystem where like artwork from the previous cycle is starting to no longer show up, right? Because someone has stopped paying that bill to keep the data pinned or to keep
Exactly.
the database online in a centralized provider. And it's kind of interesting as it's almost like, as you said, we as technical people understand it, but I think a lot of times artists are like provided infrastructure to
Yeah.
do something, and like that they don't necessarily know that they're making a trade-off, right? So they'll sell art or they'll sell collectibles or whatever it is without understanding that, oh shit, my artwork isn't guaranteed to be available in the future. So that comes up quite a
Exactly,
lot.
exactly that. And sometimes the decision is pretty much just understand, right? And we don't like,
Mhm.
okay, I need to set all of this information in a permanent way or semi permanent way. Then my whole creation of my whole data, which I think has a value, can be stored there for let's say $100, and that's a permanent one. And then semi-permanent one, um, it has so much things to maintain. You need the list of requirements from a non-technical perspective to keep their work permanent is pretty much reaching this learning curve that is just not achievable.
Yeah.
And the difference in like actions that you need to do to keep it permanent versus this like 10%, 15%, yeah, makes sense. You need extra. It doesn't, of course, we didn't understand this in the last cycle, right? 4 years ago, 3 years ago, we didn't understand this. And now it's like, oh shit, it's breaking.
Yeah.
All of this could be saved just if I pay this $15
Yeah.
extra.
We've had like a few, we've supported like quite a
So yeah, finally we have this of technical innovation. We saw the first ones in Ethereum, the second wave in Solana, the third and I think final wave is going to be in Bitcoin, and that's part of the bet that we're running here.
Very cool. And there's this kind of like theme as well that you and I have discussed like in on calls and in private chats or like chats over the last few months of like from my perspective, and obviously I am biased, but from my perspective, Arweave is like the only credibly neutral, credibly decentralized storage protocol for permanent data, right? There are new things showing up, but they haven't been around for very long. They have no Lindy to like prove that this thing is can do what it says it can do over a long period of time, right?
Yeah,
And particularly, I think in the Bitcoin ecosystem, um, those qualities are really important, right? Of like permanence, immutability, like this thing is actually decentralized and no one can mess with it, and I can verify that no one's messed with it. That always has felt from speaking to you like something that was particularly important to folks in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah, you're touching that really critical point. Today, I'm actually using, just by coincidence, my Ordinals T-shirt.
Hmm.
So, for the audience that doesn't know what I'm talking about, um, 2 years ago, a guy called Rodarmor just created a meta protocol to store um, arbitrary data on the L1 of Bitcoin, and that created a lot of waves. And with that, the ordinal theory was born. And it's no more than like trying to store non-fungibles, or it started like non-fungibles on Bitcoin, but then a lot of debates actually trigger there, right? From one side, the Bitcoin maxis, or the people that wants to keep Bitcoin the same way, are
Hmm.
talking about um, graffiti on the blockchain. So you are pretty much vandalizing or spamming my blocks with information that we don't want. But it's a really heated discussion, because at the end, it's not that they're doing it in an illegal way. Bitcoin has a monetary system where if there is a space for a transaction and you can pay for that, you just pay for it, right? So as it's permissionless, and I'm really happy that ordinals happen, because, as you say, permanence is something that is really important for many of the people building here, and it's quite probable the blockchain that is gonna fall at the end is gonna be Bitcoin. So with that, you can guarantee that it's gonna be there. Nevertheless, is slow. So we have different things, different trade-offs, right? For this kind of super artsy objects, or super high value, or maybe the data of your will, let's say, you want to have something that is extremely permanent. Maybe you want to be OG and then put it on Bitcoin. I believe in that. Nevertheless, is not ready for mainstream. And with
Yeah.
this, I mean, no one wants slow fi. Everyone is talking about Bitcoin fi, right? DeFi, but no one wants slow fi. And with this, we need to wait 10 minutes for every block on Bitcoin. And then, sure, you say, I don't need more than that. But that was a discussion with my CTO. Who wants to buy? I have two cars for you. There are two Ferraris. One can go at like 15 miles per hour, and the other can go at 250 miles per hour. Which one do you want? Sure, give me the slow one. No one ever say that, and I think most of the discussions, and also criticism we're going to receive once this is live, is exactly this, right?
Hmm.
It's a back bias from people that believe in their investments. Anyway, I don't want to be political here. I think speed is important to bring innovation, but also to bring this kind of money velocity that
Hmm.
different markets need. And we see the combination of Bitcoin L2s with fast permanent data layer could be the killer solution for it. And that's how we ended up with BitPlex, right? Is are we backed permanence? Is Spark native minting, which means every single NFT is a token inside the Bitcoin L2 ecosystem, so it can move fast.
Yep.
It's focused on developers. We're creating these SDKs and APIs. We're going to show one here, and the idea is to standardize all this schema. So the same way that ERC 721 create this wave of standard JSON that then was adopted with Metaplex, and that was the candy machine and the token metadata standard. The same way we are building on top of the shoulders of giants
Nice.
with Plex, that can follow the same standard. So you build for ERC 721. If you build for like the Solana ecosystem,
Hmm.
you're gonna do like minimum tweaks, like 1-2% of that work, and immediately work with BitPlex, which
Ah,
open
okay.
another door we never discussed, right? Which is interoperability and migrations. So we're super hype about that. I'm not gonna talk about this, but yeah, that's the vision, right? Like to make the standard work
I
everywhere.
love it. Quick question for you on standards. Are you, because something that you said at the end there, I think is, it's like really powerful, right? When you build on top of protocols or on top of like broadly accepted standards, right? Because everyone can build to the same thing, and then a marketplace can come along or an indexer can come along, and they can use the standard pattern or the protocol that's been defined to build on top of or make available what you're building in a different way. So on the standards piece, you may be going into this a bit more later, but are you kind of inheriting the standards around metadata that's used in like NFT standards in Ethereum in the same way that like BitPlex inherited that and Solana inherited those NFT standards from Ethereum as well?
Yeah, I think a couple of the things that we want to guarantee here, and this is pure experience in our participation in the Bitcoin ecosystem, is that most of the constructions happening in Bitcoin L1 currently are getting fragmented. And most of the time it's not because the design is that way, but it is something that everyone understand. Attention is scarce. Everyone try to get their new shiny thing out there, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't work with the previous versions, right? As long as I can make money, I have a window of 6 months from release to extraction to long tail, and that's it. We're not building that way. The difference is from the people building not only in the Bitcoin wallet ecosystem, but most of the stuff that is happening around this end of the year. Um, a lot of them are going to be pretty much surviving, trying to get their last hit before we go into a bear, like a sentiment in the market. And with that, we're going to get a lot of flushes, right? I think a lot of companies and a lot of teams are going to get flushed from the market. Good thing to brag about right now from us is like we have money, right? We
Yeah.
have the money, we have the team, we have the funding. We're ready to stay here like 3 4 years building, and we're building this for the long term versus you guys that are pretty much gonna get flushed in the next 6 months. No, I'm not talking to you,
I know
but
you're
you
not.
know who I'm talking about, audience. Yeah, I think the mission is to be building something that we can see as an evolution in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
And then, like as you say, other platforms, but other builders can just follow the standard, use part of our technology, and then accelerate this, right? Because we saw it happening in Ethereum, we saw it happening in Solana. I think we can get a new wave here.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah, it's super aligned with AR.io and Arweave's thinking, right? Like Arweave literally thinks in permanent 200 plus year timeframes, and
Yep.
most people don't think that right way, right? Because the incentives are not necessarily designed either by like the job that they have or the expectations of return that they have. Like most people do
Yep.
not think in those timelines. So it's always really, I always find it really enjoyable to work with folks who do care about that. Because most people don't care about it until they're forced to care about it, and by the time they're forced to care about it, oftentimes it's too late.
Yep.
And I think like a shameless plug here for kind of where we're at with AR.io, but I said earlier that I see Arweave as like the only credible, properly decentralized storage layer, right? And with RIO, we now have a credible story for the decentralization of how data is stored, indexed, and accessed, right? Which is, I think, is the final piece whereby BitPlex or anyone else doesn't have to rely on like this single gateway or this single provider to make sure the data is accessible, right, as well as its storage. So I think we're coming to this moment now, and it's great to work with you guys where we can really complete that story on not just decentralized storage and permanent storage, but also decentralized access over the long term to make sure that even if like we no longer existed, right, if our company went away, that there's a network there that can facilitate that access to data as well. So This is awesome, man. I
Yeah,
think
totally.
you were gonna. What are we gonna do next? I think you had a demo that you wanted to show, right? But just to kind of wrap up the thinking before we get into that. So my understanding is, for folks out there in the world who have maybe built on Solana, BitPlex, you can kind of think is analogous in ways to Metaplex, in such that it's a platform and a suite of tools for developers to be able to store data in a decentralized way on Arweave and launch NFTs and collectibles easily, right? The SDKs and the tooling is there to make it really easy for them to do that. And the infrastructure that you're building on in terms of Bitcoin is an L2 called Spark. And maybe just for any folks who aren't aware, quickly, is Spark analogous to any other chain that's out there? Is it EVM based? Is there anything you'd want to share more about Spark, about why you're interested in it and why you chose to build on it specifically?
Yeah, that's a really because we started with, in this story that I told you at the beginning, we ended up trying to move money in emerging markets between different talents that we had. And you can do it with Bitcoin, but I say no one likes SlowFi. And then we discover Bitcoin Lightning. So Lightning was the solution back then.
Mm-hmm.
As many of you experience, Lightning, the most or the easiest way to access like goes to Lightning of Satoshi, while also doing great job to do Bitcoinization around the world. Nevertheless, it's custodial. And that's one of the problems with this solution. It's fast, sure. It works really nice with this idea of open bills or your tap at the bar, if you ever heard about that. If not, for the audience, Lightning works with something called channels. So between two people, we can open a channel. And then in one side, I say, I put $1,000, you put $1,000 in Bitcoin, and that channel has like a $2,000 capacity. Then we have an open tap, right? So if I send you money, you send me, the balances are open all the time, but they never get over $2,000. At the end, if we want to close the bill, and for some reason I got the $2,000 on my name and you got zero because we spent all of this. Once we close the channel, a transaction is happening in L1, and then that channel is destroyed. The whole money, because the balance say that, goes to my Bitcoin account, and you get zero, and the tap is clear. So that's the most simplistic way we can explain Lightning. Nevertheless, it's complicated. The Spark team start building something more sophisticated than this, but also prepared to do scalability. Because custody is complicated, Spark like pretty much evolved into this like decentralized way, but also non-custody. So that's why it's a perfect solution for us. I think the team behind it is a killer team. It's led by David Marcos. David was the one leading PayPal. So he was the president of PayPal. If you remember, he was also the leader of Facebook Messenger for a couple of years, and his infamous role in the Libra project that then evolved into DM that got totally destroyed by the DOG and every single one in the American government. So the guy has a lot of experience, right? They have a lot of experience. They just raised 170 million or 150 million, if I'm not wrong there. So they have treasury, right? They have war chest to go to war and build all of these solutions. So I am quite confident they're gonna push things that are usable for the market in a commercial way versus just building tech to make a token price go up. So that's something that for me is really, really important. They don't have a token that get like compromise in the middle. So it's everything based on Bitcoin.
Nice.
And then
so they don't have that
on top of
incentive
that,
to pump
exactly.
them. Yeah. Okay, I love that.
So yeah. So that will be my summary from Spark. By the way,
Cool.
something to mention before going into the demo is that even that I say we need faster transactions, and Arweave is going to be our first partner to do fast storage and permanent storage. We are also considering the standard to be compatible with L1, right? To be able to bring these ordinals work.
Ooh.
And that's how we want to create this continuity with projects that already exist and give them opportunity to either migrate or kind of merge in the new standard to be able to survive, right? The next 4, 5, 10 years, and not only just like try to get there and then say my solution is better. We want to pretty much standardize the different
Okay.
flavors out there. But yeah,
Nice. That's a good segue.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's a good segue into showing folks like what this looks like in practice. So, were you going to do a demo, or did you have a video, or what did you want to show?
Yeah. I have partially demo, partially video. So I want to show you a couple things. I think the first one is going directly to what's going on. So where we are with BitPlex, right? We divided this with a team of AirIO and also Rwave into stages. So we started with the research and design and the MVP. Those are done. Then the ecosystem integration, and then launch and growth. So we are about to go for launching. We have received a lot of like a hype on Twitter and different WeChat groups. So the Asian ecosystem, especially the Chinese ecosystem, and the Eastern ecosystem, especially in the X or Twitter, are getting super hot. And the idea is to start making experiments that work with this technology I'm going to show you, and then start launching all the initial partners. So where we are is here. We have the metadata standard. Nothing crazy or fancy. It's even boring because it looks exactly the same as previous technologies.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to do this compatibility. This is the one you're going to see today, and this one. So the first tool that we're going to release is the CLI, something that developers but also artists can download and then execute locally to do two things. One, organize their assets in a media plus JSON or media plus metadata way, pack it, use bundler, and then put it right there on Arweave. That's the step number one. Second step is having that hash. We're gonna link that hash into a token that is living in this Bitcoin L2. Once it's there, once it's encapsulated in this token, officially we have an NFT that can move around the network. All of this magic is happening with a terminal that you're gonna see in like maximum 2 minutes. But the whole thing is to be able to help people kickstart their adventure with the creation of non-fungibles. Later on, the final part is just like showing how it's going to be rendered in different wallets. We control one wallet called BitBit, which is a Spark-only wallet, but we are in the chats with another 3 wallets to implement the standard. So pretty much Q1 is going to be the official release in this December. If you are here and you want of the month, we're gonna go for all the experiments. Everything fail, everything is really alpha stuff. Gonna be super early. If you want to be stable and you want to risk, come back in a couple weeks. So
nice. So just
we're gonna start with CLI.
Just to summarize, right? On the left we have the metadata standard for how NFT images and their associated data will be stored on Arweave. In the middle we have like a really nice SDK and CLI that you guys are building to make it really, really easy to both package up NFT images and their metadata and put that on Arweave via Turbo. And then lastly, we'll be looking at kind of like how that all comes together and shows in the front end of the wallet app.
That's correct. So final user is going to be able just to click a button to mint, and then extract a NFT after they pay. That's it.
Cool.
For developers and creators, they're going to see more where they need to organize their assets to make them available in a Arwave bundle. Again, but yeah, what I want to show you is this is new. So a lot of people don't know this. You've been following BitPlex. This is pretty much the architecture. So the way that a Bitcoin token works is to be defined as a non-fungible in our standard is to have supply 1, decimal 0, and the ticker of BNFT. It's a game of words, right? It's like it could be Bitcoin NFT, it could be BitPlex NFT, whatever you want to call it. Then the metadata starts with BNFT, then 2 characters for the location, and then 3 characters for the version, and then the hash. So this is pretty much the summary of the standard. If you need to remember something and you're a developer, this is the thing.
Okay, so that's like
this part.
BNFT, XXY, and then the Arweave hash.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Cool.
So once you extract the token, you know exactly where the metadata is coming from. In this case, 01 is for Arwave, is the one that we're enabling in this stage, and proud partners of the Arwave ecosystem. IPFS soon, and Bitcoin 01 quite probable way before the 02, because we want to allow like ordinal collections, but also builders to come and play with the technology. Once you know it's an Arwave, you can fetch the metadata. This one exactly here is where we're using the technology of RIO called Wayfinder. So something we changed from our previous experience with my previous company is that we were making every single pointer with full URLs, right? https://arwave.net, blah, blah, blah. This time we're using the AR syntaxes. So in this way, if one like, I mean, you can explain it better, but in this way, if one of the gateways is down, you can pretty much use a different mechanism to route. Maybe you can explain us how is that one?
I'll have a stab. So in the Arweave ecosystem, for folks that have built there before, historically, people have always gone to the main ecosystem gateway, which we do operate, which is called arweave.net, to request data back. So it's like arweave.net/transaction ID. We mentioned earlier that, maybe we didn't, but AR.io network, which is kind of what we're focused on and what Felipe just mentioned at the moment, is an effort to decentralize the whole stack for storing, indexing, and providing access. So rather than just having one arweave.net, you have hundreds of gateways that are all independently incentivized to index and serve data. And the last thing that Felipe mentioned is we have a protocol for routing between those gateways. So you can ask what we call Wayfinder, you give it a transaction ID or a name, and it will find a gateway in the network that is available to serve that data. And what we think this is really important, and I think especially in like the Bitcoin ecosystem, what we were talking about earlier, it's like there isn't this single point of failure where you're relying on this hard-coded URL or this single gateway to serve data. There are hundreds of them, right? And as long as you use Wayfinder, like you will get your data back. If you will get your data back from an active gateway in the network. So it kind of completes that story of decentralized access on top of decentralized storage. I love that you're using Wayfinder, man. It's brilliant.
Awesome. That was sweet. That's the final part, as we described. Once you have the JSON, the only thing that is missing is if you are analyzing a collection token or you're analyzing an individual token, in this case, an NFT. So we decided to go for YYY in this standard because we think the flexibility will allow us to grow the standard right? So the 000 currently is the collection metadata that actually groups every single of the non-fungibles into one group. And the 001 is, in fact, the NFT metadata. So if you see a 000 in a wallet, or you're an indexer and find a 000, you know that it's going to be the group holder of all of that mini universe. And if it's a 001, quite probably you're a wallet that is trying to render that specific NFT. So 002, 003, we're talking about different standards of Parallel Alpha I can share here. I think the initial nature is to go immutable. So 001 is totally immutable. We don't know if it's going to be the 003 or 004 mutability. For we're talking about we can update things without losing the provenance, right? So yeah, I
Ooh,
don't want to
that's cool.
share more about it, but we're also hype because we can talk about either, I mean, like from the technical perspective is fancy. From the user perspective, it's just like I can update my things. But imagine a system like a Bitcoin name service, right? Like domains that you can just update to different pointers, and I don't know, memberships, or even gaming,
Yeah.
where you can update the scores. So yeah, let's continue.
I like that you're thinking about like protocolizing that in the standard, right? Because the only way to like guarantee that you can't update the token URI or metadata in like an Ethereum, for example, is by burning the address that owns the contract, right? Ultimately, the original address could update it if it wanted to, but I think that's really, really cool. And we love provenance here in the permaweb, so all
Let's
for
go.
that.
Okay, what is next? Yeah, after all of this explanation, something that I can share with you is exactly this, which is yeah, happy to introduce. You are one of the first ones in the world to know what is the name of for a specific method. We decided to go for blind box with all of this Labubu influence happening in the world and mystery boxes getting open. Blind box was the name that it fits the best for us. This idea where you get a little box, you don't know what is inside. Once you open it, reveals itself. For collectibles, is working perfect. For the narrative, pretty much is something that we spend good time trying to make
I
it
like
work.
it.
Blind box is going to be the analogy of candy machine from Metaplex. So it's pretty much this method or process where you put all the items inside, you kind of pack it, you define prices and also times to mint that object, and the user is pretty much taking one item per time once we prove that they pay on chain the transaction that we say. So in terms of like cycle is looking like this. I'm giving you context just because I don't want to show just the terminal and it's like what's going on in that
Yeah.
terminal, right? So the whole blind box creation is something that we're gonna do in this demo, where we create and config the blind box. Then we start inserting the items after the settings. This insert items process is exactly taking from local files like the media plus the JSON metadata and sending that to Arwave. Once it's back, the creation of the individual token is happening. So each token happened on Bitcoin L2 and finally gets into this encapsulated blind box.
Love it.
Finally, once you want to get something out, you need to mint, which is gonna transfer from the process of blind box to your personal wallet, and you get your NFT. So hopefully this image helps with all the technical explanation. Let me see. Oh no, I'm jumping stuff. Okay, let's go. Is this? No, let's do it. So
Oh.
here
Do
we
you
go.
want
Let's go
to
to the
zoom
video.
in? Can you zoom in on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
I think it comes across probably just about well enough, but if you can get in any closer, then
Okay, let me know. Is this
I,
enough? I
yeah,
go a little more.
I think it's okay.
Let me see if I can do this.
Ah, there you go.
Yes.
That's better. Yes, amazing.
Okay, I think it's like this. Okay, cool. Awesome. I think we
Perfect.
can do it with here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a CLI. As you can see, we have a specific folder called Faces NFT. It's a small test collection with 10 items. So just like Bitcoin faces, really simple. Here we're just running the code BitPlex deploy. Deploy has different stuff happening in the back. It identifies first a JSON file inside that folder. It's a configuration file. And then it defines the collection name, how many items, and the main network, if it's mainnet or testnet.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it identifies mainnet, scan the NFT pairs, found that we have really well formed 10 NFTs. In this, 10 images and 10 match. And each of them, if you are like having an image without metadata, you cannot continue. And the
Yeah.
other thing important is that the whole assets directory is only 559 KB. So that's a little more than half megabyte.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important because that's the amount of data we're going to push into Arweave, right? So that's
Yeah.
the stuff that you need to pay. JSONs are validated or repaired if needed, just because order of the JSON. Then the CLI is not detecting any wallet to continue. It creates a wallet, or you can restore one. In this case, we say create wallet, set a password, and right here we create a Bitcoin L2 wallet. Because of this demo, we decided to go for like privacy. And then behind this, you can see just a seed phrase. That's it.
Yep.
So normal developers or artists just need to copy and store,
Mm-hmm.
because that's gonna be the wallet that has control of the whole provenance of that collection, right? Is the creator wallet basically. Did you safely back it up? Yes. Okay, awesome. So right here is the magic happening. First, it requests a quote for the 10 items. And in this demo, we are charging 1 sat per kilobyte. That means every uh, every byte is every mega is $1. Yes, something like that. Then this one is important because the wallet that is paying for that upload is funded wallet, and then you need to fund the wallet with Bitcoin. Once you have the money in the wallet, it's checking every single time, like, hey, did you pay? Did you pay? Did you pay? So here we're in the second attempt of the payment confirmation. Once is confirmed, like here, it goes directly for the R-Wave process. So exactly here is where we are using the bundler. In this case, the collection metadata is uploaded to Airwave. This is the ID, and it was super fast, right? As you can see right here is trying, this is real time when we did the demo. So it's like uploading every single of the assets, the combination of JSON and image. So yeah, it's like pretty much a second. Of course, if your collection is like 10,000 items, it's gonna take a little time. But the cool thing about this CLI is that If you lose connection of internet, you just rerun BitPlex deploy, and it's gonna go for exactly where you stop uploading. Here, I already finished the upload process. Then it's asking you to set a price per NFT. So the first stage is already done. Second stage is about setting the sale of the primary sale of this blind box. But two fancy stuff that we implemented is that in the config file, you can preset all of this, and then you don't need to write anything here. You just go for enter, 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 just to confirm, right?
Yeah.
If you want to like redo it, you can just do it right here. So this one is like 420 sats, which is around half a dollar. And then when the blind box is going to be launching, so that time for the user to start minting in UTC zone. And finally, the treasury. So every single payment happening in this blind box is going to go for this wallet and success. So the summary is that you have a blind box. Everything is being packaged in this blind box with all the settings. Transferring is done, so assets are ready to be bought, and successful deployment. You have the meta URL. So this is the Rwave bundle address, or whatever we are like doing the whole indexing.
Mm-hmm.
And the blind box has a ID. This ID is important because later on you just use this ID to paste it in a front end, and the front end is the one that we're gonna watch immediately. But the ID is the only information needed for a deployer or artist or community to set and then start charging for their NFTs. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
We survived live demo. Let's go to the next one. Any question
we've
here?
got like 3 or 4 minutes left, just to let you
Awesome.
know.
So last part. This is the kind of demo for the front end for Blindbox. In this case, you can connect many different like Spark wallets like Xverse, Bitbit, or else. In this case, let me refresh just to simulate the minting countdown. You
Mhm.
cannot do anything until the time is precise
And this is
related with your blind box.
the time that you entered into the CLI.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
is
cool.
is that date? Then here is gonna just like it's gonna try to simulate success or error. In this case, is minting successfully, and then to check what is inside in in the wallet that I have here. This is a BitBit wallet. This is a Spark wallet. We have the items, and then we have here successfully. We have an extra one. This is an NFT built on top of BitPlex, combining Bitcoin technology with Rwave technology. So yeah, that's it. As you can see, it's a normal token, so I can send it to anyone else. But
Mhm.
the rendering is pretty much using another part of the Rwave ecosystem, r.io, which is the wayfinder, right? To bring
Yep.
the JSON out of the specific Rwave location. And yeah, that's it. I hope you liked the demo. It was a lot of info, a lot of chats and political stuff, but we're having a lot of fun here building what we think is going to be the future for non-fungibles on Bitcoin.
I love it, man. Yeah, no, it's like the detail I think is useful for people, right? A lot of these considerations that we've made along the way, working together and collaborating, like we said earlier, especially in the Bitcoin ecosystem, where that how important it is to folks that things are permanent and accessible forever, right? And you can't change these things, right? Like, so I think the detail was good and useful for everyone. And that demo for me, having like used Metaplex and used a number of tools in the Arweave ecosystem, it looks like you've done a really nice job to make it super clean for developers, and I think also even approachable for creators to be able to use, right? Like you're not They're not having to like do any rocket science there around like installing packages and understanding how to do like build systems with development. They can just use the CLI, point it at a folder, and they can create their assets. I think that's awesome. The wallet looks cool as well. I'm super bullish that you guys are using Wayfinder 2 to kind of ensure that decentralized access. Quickly before we go, any calls to actions or any places to kind of point people to go and find out more about BitPlex, or anything that you want to like let folks know that you're excited about that's coming up in the very short term?
Yeah, simple one. If you have any questions you want to get related or make some experiments, my DMs are open here at fservin on X, aka Twitter. Also, if you're a community, if you're building or you're a developer, go check out bitplex.io. We have a section, small one right there that says "Launch with Us." It's a Google form that is collecting the interest of the ecosystem. Currently, we're already at double digits in projects lighting up to launch with
Let's
us.
go.
And we have another one. If you're just a simple collector, degen, or just early adopter of these technologies, we have another link called Join the Whitelist or Join the WL. Just put your information. We're going to send you a spot so you can play with it once we launch, which is in a couple days, and you're going to be part of the early experiment. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. It was not that technical to get you bored, or at least it can spark some of the curiosity to keep on pushing the limits.
Awesome. I had fun, man. Hopefully everyone else had fun. But yeah, just to double click on that, like if you're a builder or a creator and you want to get involved with BitPlex and Spark on launching on the platform, head to the website. Also, if you're a collector who wants to be part of like history, head there too and fill out the sort of waitlist form, and Felipe and the team will make sure you get kind of like first access to what's being launched. But that was really cool, man. I look forward to keep working with you guys. We'll definitely do a follow-up afterwards. But as for now, peace. Thanks very much for coming on.